Sonic Universe Issue 93. After wasted time, Vector's told that it's safer to make their approach a stealthy way. We see the pirates arguing over what to eat, which takes too long as well. Espio tells Vector that he managed to talk to Razor briefly and told him they have a plan. Charmy tells them that Opal's gonna bring the lieutenant some food after breakfast, so if they sneak down right after, no one will be around. Vector says it's the perfect opportunity, and Espio says it's at least a better chance. Then they're interrupted by what Vector thinks is a really fake-sounding sneeze. They could have easily not had to be interrupted and waste a huge amount of time with painful lying if they didn't say anything after what Charmy said. If even Vector said that was a fake sneeze, why didn't Blade get suspicious about Razor doing that? Vector tries to come up with a joke, and Charmy laughs before he can get to the punchline. Then our time is wasted some more because Undina and Razor say that they saw Espio in the fighting tournament and just realized it was him. Blade's then distracted from Vector by the sound of Opal being done breakfast. Vector says that they're lucky, and Undina says they are totally lucky, seeming to be sarcastic. And then a giant amount of our time is wasted again by the captain making a motivational speech before getting to the island, instead of them just getting to the island immediately. I think Ian Flynn's influence is showing, because this is really desperate to be a 4-issue arc. Common sense made me expect the issue to immediately start out with them at the island, but that'd be basic fundamental good writing. Kids wouldn't get bored of this, really? Then Espio pointlessly goes to tell the lieutenant in jail that it was all a trick, so the chaotics wouldn't have all end up in that cell or worse. I refuse to read all the lieutenant's dialogue. The writer should be ashamed of himself for wasting our time this much. Did anyone read all this crap? And her saying she's a fool doesn't help. Espio asks her how the cell opens and where her gear is. She tells him that there's a key card on that barrel and everything is in the locker behind him, and he tells her that it will be a breakout. And the captain tells one of the pirates to supervise the boat so it wouldn't get loose and drift away. Then the pirates talk about how the treasures are all in the ruins, and Blade is right. It's fine to use them because their owners are gone by now. Razor says it's neat, and asks them if they wonder why the people left their stuff all over. He's called a little kid. Yeah, because archaeologists are little kids. This is fucking sad. And Blade is referred to as having been complaining for weeks. More wasting of our time! Flynn really sucks as a writer. Why can't this just get to the point? This kind of horrendous pacing is why Sonic the Comic is objectively better than Archie, because its pacing is at a much faster speed, usually getting straight to the exciting part. Razor says he missed adventure and excitement. Blade says that this is boring because there's no winning in conflict, and the world never gave people like them anything, and they need to take it because it owes them. And Razor is being an aggressive idiot again by not keeping his mouth shut and making it obvious that he hasn't really changed. They're lucky this didn't really backfire on them. It's frustrating to see the main characters being baffling idiots. It makes them impossible to relate to. It makes me wonder why they're the main character. The captain says that he's found something curious here. We could have just skipped to this part. Undina says that she doesn't think they're near the spot yet. He finds something for her to translate, so she translates some words, saying that this is hard without context, relatably. And Espio says that it sounds like an epitaph. Opal says that she's okay with grave robbing, and asks if it says anything about curses. I love how genre-savvy she was there. Undina says that she doesn't think it's like that, as I wonder how unbelievably selfish the asshole who put treasure in their grave would be, demanding people to never use it for anything, instead of giving it to their family in their inheritance, or donating it to charity in their will. What an asshole! He deserves this, if it really is a grave, because holy shit, no one does something like that. It's a waste of perfectly good money. Undina reads a warning saying, "Untold destructive power," and warns the captain that it's not a treasure, it's a weapon. That sounds like a very convenient thing for the pirates to find out of complete nowhere. It can't be a Chaos Emerald, so how would it exist? The captain says that this might be enough power to oppose the entirety of the Eggman Empire. Too bad he has to go on to say that the wealth of entire nations could be his, including her home. Doesn't he enjoy being a pirate captain though? Wouldn't he get bored of retiring because he's wealthy now? I guess he doesn't plan on retiring, but then what's the point of the wealth? Opal reassures her that they could always surrender, and she wanted the freedom to travel. This worries the princess, and Razor asks Espio if he's been leaving a trail for the lieutenant. Dive's already gotten me to hate him because his love of the waves has already gotten irritating. That is the kind of minor thing you mention once and then never bring up again. That can't be the basis for an entire personality, or else I'm just gonna want him dead. He's not funny, he's annoying. He screams when something jumps out of the water at him. There! That's all that needed to be drawn! This is the kind of pacing that makes me think that the editors in post-Flynn stories have basically no power or no brain if they didn't think to do anything about this. They didn't think this would be boring? Really? This pirate doesn't even look like a pirate. He doesn't look like he has the proper build for it at all. They just took anyone they could get. Vector is asked by Opal what he's looking at, and he says that he's just admiring the ruins. She calls him a nerd. He wonders where the lieutenant is, because he can't simply make a run for it. Yeah, they'd be chased and overpowered. The Chaotix open the vault door, and the story insists on ending there. This was a horribly boring story, especially after the previous one. This was by Ian Flynn, and was almost nothing but an obvious wasting of our time, boring us all to death. I naturally assumed that the story would start out with the pirate ship reaching the island, and if all that was going to actually happen on the island was that they'd reach a vault with a convenient weapon in it, then it should have just cut to that part. We didn't need a lot of the boring, frustrating dialogue. We didn't need to see Espio with the whiny lieutenant who makes me want her to die with so much aggravating dialogue. She's not a main character. Why is she being portrayed like it? We know that she's wrong though. We know that Espio's a good guy, so there's no way her dialogue would ever be satisfying. Why didn't Espio just put his hand over her mouth immediately? The captain wants a weapon to get power over the world, which comes out of nowhere since he could have just been a regular pirate captain, just wanted to do that. Why wasn't the weapon destroyed, thrown into a volcano, or the ocean, instead of put in a grave with the text hoping no one would go in it? The weapon's destruction could have been mandated in the person's will, and that would have made more sense than this plan if this plan was magically followed through to the letter instead of the weapon being used by someone else. I guess no one involved in the funeral knew what the weapon was. So then it could have been mandated that it be destroyed or thrown in a volcano just fine. This is supposed to be a family-friendly way to make Undina want to leave the pirates. But it would have been more natural if they killed someone, or even stole from people in front of her, which is what she wanted to prevent. You might actually be better off skipping this issue. You wouldn't be confused because the next issue's start would explain what's going on just fine. Especially because of the pointless film noir recap panel at the start of each issue of this arc, which shouldn't have kept happening after the first time. Leave it to a Sonic Universe reboot arc to never be good all the time.